I want to ask Peter Brown about a video game he reviewed. We're back, review season. Resident Evil 0 HD Remaster. I guess the latest remastering of Resident Evil 0.
Resident Evil 0 is not like the original remake of the original Resident Evil. Because Resident Evil, the original, was remade for GameCube.
It was.
And then they remastered that for HD. Resident Evil 0, unless you discount the Nintendo 64 prototype that was made,
right,
it was made for the GameCube and then remastered
for the Wii.
It wasn't remastered for the Wii.
It wasn't remastered for the Wii?
No, they just ported it and they added new controls.
Okay.
That doesn't count.
So it didn't look better?
No,
It looked a little bit better, didn't it?
No.
Okay. So this is, as far as you're concerned, this is the ultimate, the only remastering of Resident Evil 0.
Yes.
That's coming out this year. Who knows?
Sure.
4 years
Argue
time.
with me online.
Capcom.
But it'll be fun.
I got a bunch of questions from the users on GameSpot.com. I'm going to ask you about your review. I've got a couple of questions myself as well. First of all, is this game, it's only like $20 or something? I saw it on Steam. It was only like $20. So it's not a full price game. Yeah.
That sounds right. You can buy it as a bundle with the remake of the original remake.
Right.
For the remaster of the original remake for $40 total, I think.
It's on Windows. You played it on Xbox One, right?
Yes.
It's also on PlayStation 4.
Yes.
Did the 360 and PS3 versions, are they coming as well? I know they originally said that.
When I looked at the product listing last time, it did seem to
that?
indicate yes.
Okay.
But I don't have those games in hand.
You haven't played them. No worries. I want to talk to you about Wesker mode because no one asked about Wesker mode. Wesker mode to me is the funny, like it's literally nothing to do probably with the game, but I just love dumb bonus modes for video games.
Yeah.
So you can play this entire game as Albert Wesker, but it doesn't change his voice acting or anything.
No, so it just replaces the character model of Billy.
Yeah.
Billy Cullen.
Everyone's favorite Resident Evil character, Billy.
Yeah, the tank tops, slick haired. So yeah, replaces him with Wesker, and Billy's lines are just stupid to begin with.
Yeah.
And Wesker is kind of a odd being himself.
Yes.
So it's kind of nice to finally see him like utter lines that are really silly and own it, because in context, it's really weird to have Wesker having someone else's voice come out of his mouth.
Yeah.
But more importantly, so he's like super powered. He can use guns. He doesn't have unlimited health, but he has the ability to, without limits, release these bursts of energy that decapitate zombies.
Right.
And you can like hold the button down and charge it up so you decapitate zombies that are that far away from you.
Okay,
know?
yeah.
He can also run really, really fast. So you
Great.
can knock over enemies.
Here he is. Look, bam.
Oh,
Head explodes. Great.
Yeah. So this is...
He's running super fast. That looks like a broken animation. That's
I know.
great.
And that's just it. Is like so much of this mode is unbalanced.
Right. And that's fun. Is it for speed running then or something? Or
it's for speed running. I also think it's kind of cathartic because I sat down and played Resident Evil 0 from start to finish the day before writing this review. And at the end of that, I was very exhausted because that was like 10 to 12 hours of tense survival, like all this stuff. And then it starts me off again. I'm like, okay, I have to try Wesker mode. But then I'm just like tearing through zombies like nothing.
That's great.
And all of a sudden, I feel like the game is new again. All this stress is gone. It's just about fun. And I really like it.
That's good. Good bonus mode. I like it.
It's a great
I wanted to
bonus
give some sort of a bit of time to that because I like dumb bonus modes. I miss cheat codes.
It's like a mod.
I miss things like that.
It's like a mod you would get for Skyrim or something. But it's Resident Evil.
So let's talk about Resident Evil 0 then. How do you, before I get to the sort of user questions, how do you review a game like this? Because do you review it based on the fact, like this technical exercise of, oh, this is a remaster of an old game, so how good does it recapture what that old game was? Or do you have to review it as a game that came out, over 10 years ago, and how does it play in 2016? Like, how do you balance that sort of aspect?
Well, it's an old game, and therefore you have to acknowledge the things that are a product of the time. But, you could say, oh, people can just read the old review, and then we can just write something about the technical improvements.
Right.
But a person today, their tastes are probably very different from someone who's reviewing the game back then. Context is everything in these cases.
Or somebody who's playing it.
Somebody's playing it.
Imagine a teenager playing this, yeah.
They weren't, maybe even a kid who's like 12, right? Who was not alive when the game came out. In that sense, you have to review the game for what it is, and you can't really make apologies for things that are old. I think it's fair to point out why things are the way they are.
Yeah.
But I'm getting a lot of comments, people saying like, doesn't he understand when this game came out? Like, blah, blah. It's like, yes, I played it when it came out. I understand that. But I'm playing it today as someone in 2016, and some things are not that great. And those need to be taken into account, and no apologies, right?
Yeah. 7 out of 10 on GameSpot.
7 out of 10.
Is that correct?
It is a good game.
Excellent. B Gary 1 asks, seeing as the PC version has 60 frames per second option and the PS4 and Xbox One doesn't, are you disappointed? Do you think it would have been? Does it benefit from it at all?
I don't think it matters. It didn't matter to me. I mean, unless I'm playing like an arcade shmup, or heaven forbid I ever get into League of Legends, or I'm playing Street Fighter, right? Like,
yeah.
60 frames per second isn't necessarily that important, especially to a game like Resident Evil.
I was about to say, it's quite cinematic. So
so even the lower frame rate like lends itself to a more cinematic presentation. And, on consoles, they lock it to 30, probably because they wanted to use the extra headroom for better lighting and shadows.
Right.
And on PC, they probably unlocked it for 60 because PC gamers just want to
be able to do that. Yeah.
They want to see the number and feel great about that.
Do it themselves. Yeah, that's true. That's something we come across with making video stuff a lot as well, is that like 60 frames a second is something like for gameplay, like I feel like that's something they like to do a lot. But for instance, like Andy, is this 30 or 23 you're on? You don't know?
You're not shooting in 60 frames per second?
So like this one here is probably on 30, right? So like if we go to Andy's single, whenever we do this for the point, it's always like super low. Yeah, I don't know. Am I wrong? That kind of looks like it's about 24, is it? It might be being upscaled. We don't know if it's being converted on the other end.
We shot at 60 for a while, and it made it look like there were little live mannequins inside of YouTube. It was kind of creepy.
Nice.
Like I like 60 frames a second for like 95% of games, but yeah, there are some situations in which it actually kind of takes away from the experience.
It was like weird uncanny valley for some reason.
Yeah.
When we tried doing that on YouTube.
Yeah. Not a fan.
I think we focus too much on whether a game is 1080p 60 and not enough behind maybe why it is or is not.
It's kind of shorthand for does this game look and play fluidly, or at least I feel like that's what it was meant to be, but now it's just turned into this abstract, silly.
Well, yeah, because there's so many discussions like the Xbox One can't do 1080p 60. It's
right.
Like, well, no, it could if the developers like tone down some of the special effects in the game. It's not like everything is built on top of can the system do a certain frame rate of resolution. Like that's the result of everything they've decided to put into the game. And I think people should the discussion should be, I want this game at 60, so they should have toned down the textures, or they should have done this. Right? Rather than just being like,
I want it all.
Blankly, the end result isn't what I want it to be, regardless of why.
All right, well, to that end, I've probably talked too much about resolution and frames rate, so let's get to some more gameplay questions. Spike Spiegel asked a question that made me laugh out loud, because this is kind of how I feel about it. Did the remaster make this game any less boring, asking for a friend?
Wesker mode made it less boring.
Okay.
I will say that.
All right. Does it feel like when you played Resident Evil 0 the first time?
It does, yeah. I mean, especially because when nostalgia makes everything seem better.
Right.
So I'm not coming at this like, wow, this looks so much better. Like, it looks really good. It looked really good to me back when it came out. So less boring, maybe only if you beat it and unlock that extra mode.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you have to unlock it, do you?
Oh yeah, you do.
Do you have to do anything specific to one? Like,
I just played it
the game? Or?
I played it on normal difficulty.
Okay.
I saved whenever I wanted to. I died a couple times. So, yeah, no restrictions.
I got a question here from Savage Road, and I think this might have been Twitter or might have been GameSpot comments, I forget. Everyone says item management is a bad thing in a survival horror game. I don't understand that. That's the part of survival in survival horror. How does that sort of affect Resident Evil 0? Is there much of that, like balancing the amount of stuff that you can carry, ink ribbons, all that?
That's the whole challenge, is keeping track of enough items to like defend and heal yourself, while also leaving room for key items you need to solve puzzles and weapons, because it's all sort of in one big pool. But this game makes it easier because in other Resident Evil games, you had to go to designated storage chests. So if you forgot something, it was like, shit, I need to go slog all the way back there. Now you can leave items in any room, and the map system is really good about telling you where you left something and what it is. And you can exchange items between characters. That said, it is a little silly sometimes because you'll pick up things that maybe don't go in your inventory. It's sort of like a lore item. And there's no limit to how much lore you can carry.
There's a limit to the amount of lore I can read.
Right. And, but it's weird when like a key takes up the same amount of space as something even like a handgun or like a bunch of like grenade munitions.
Yeah.
It's like it's a bit imbalanced. So it seems silly, but the conceit fits what the game is trying to be. And it is this puzzle of, having things you need to survive and then also being able to progress through the game.
Yeah. Interesting. I spend all weekend playing The Long Dark, which is basically a game. It's only about that, about having like inventory management and weight consumption. So I think depending on the game, I guess it it either works or it doesn't. That's kind of all the questions we've having the people, the folks on GameSpot.com and reaching out over Twitter. So I guess your final thoughts on it, Peter. It's a solid remake of a decent Resident Evil game. It sounds like.
Yeah, like if you want like old school survival horror and you don't mind playing a game that's like got fixed cameras, go for it. It's not as good as the first one, but it's still all right.
Awesome. There you go. Thanks very much, Peter. Appreciate you coming on, talking to us about it. Let us know what you think of Resident Evil HD, Resident Evil 0 HD Remaster in the comments below. Let us know, are you interested in picking it up? Would you have picked it up if it was a full price game, actually? I'm interested to hear that. Do you think you'll get it because it's around the $20 limit? Let us know in the comments below and in the chat as well. All the chats here. Thanks everyone for tuning in at the moment on GameSpot.com and twitch.tv/GameSpot, and to our folks watching on YouTube Gaming as well. Super appreciated.